Hello and welcome. Before we get started, can I get a thumbs up, and I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to watch a video that talks about the invisible Bitcoin levels nobody is watching. At the end of this video, watch how we even in a bear market are stacking Bitcoin. Enjoy the video.
Quick update and video here on Bitcoin and what's happening on this particular chart. I want to show you exactly what this chart here shows about Bitcoin in just a few moments. But of course, as I'm sure you're probably aware, today is a very important day, probably the most important day of this year, which is the England game with Croatia. I haven't been in this situation since when I was 13 years old in 1990. That was the last time England played in a semi-final game. I'm hoping England will win. Of course, I support the home country, England. Best of luck to the lads there tonight. And of course, best of luck to the Croatian team as well. May the best team win. All right, guys, let's talk about Bitcoin. All right, guys, so what I'm showing you here on this particular chart of Bitcoin is an indicator developed by a good friend of mine who is a mathematician. And what we're seeing here is what's called a turbulent chart. In other words, the levels of turbulence on the price chart here of Bitcoin. Now, in other words, what we're looking at here are patterns which show to us the support and resistance, invisible levels of support and resistance, if you want to call it the floor and the ceiling of Bitcoin. Again, you don't normally see this on other charts. For example, here's a normal chart of Bitcoin on a 30-minute chart, and here's the same chart on a 30-minute time frame, but this time by looking at the turbulent levels, okay? And what I pay attention to when I see this chart are two things. Number one, the thick levels of turbulence. So I want to see, first of all, where the thick levels of turbulence on the chart. For example, right now, these levels are here and here, okay? And I'll explain to you what those levels are in a few moments. And of course, I want to know, is the price above the cloud? So again, the blue area I'm showing to you here, the blue area is what's called the turbulence cloud, not to be confused with what's called the Ichimoku cloud, something completely different. But I want to know, is the price below or above the turbulence cloud? And if it's below the cloud, price has a higher tendency to move lower. And if price is above the cloud, price has a higher tendency to go higher. Okay, I'll just give you a quick example here. So let me just show you this one, this particular chart. As you can see, what you will see here is that when price goes above the cloud, there's a higher tendency for price to move higher. And what tends to happen is when price has a correction, so when price drops, it has a tendency to move back into these thick levels of turbulence. Okay, these thick turbulent levels you see on my chart. And what I found out through our research is that often wave counts, so wave 5 and wave 4, sometimes wave 3 as well, tends to end or come to a completion in these thick levels of turbulence you see here. So for example, here the wave 5 came to an end right there on the edge of that thick turbulent level you see on the chart there, on just at the end of that turbulence cloud. So looking at this chart, where are we right now in relation to the turbulence cloud? Are we below it or are we above it? And as you can see here, over the last few days, since my last video, price of Bitcoin has managed to fall below the cloud, which is not a good thing, all right? The fact that it's below the cloud right now is actually a bearish scenario for Bitcoin. However, don't get me wrong here, Bitcoin can still recover and get itself back above the cloud. And if it does that, that certainly would be a bullish scenario. Just to give you a quick example of what I'm talking about in relation to where price is in relation to the cloud. So for example, notice that here, just to show you a quick example of it here, here you can see Bitcoin, notice on its first attempt, it came back into this thick level of turbulence cloud right here, okay? And this thick level of turbulence managed to hold Bitcoin. It bounced off it. But look what happened here. It then came back and broke it, all right? And whenever price breaks through the cloud, through the turbulence cloud, that, of course, has strong consequences, especially, of course, if it breaks below the cloud, tends to lead to more selling pressure. And, of course, if it goes above the cloud, can lead to more buying pressure, as it did over here, as you can see here. So, once again, the fact that Bitcoin is now below the turbulence cloud, certainly not a good thing for the moment on Bitcoin, unless it manages somehow to go back above it. This level of turbulence right here, this thick level of turbulence, is about a 6,390 level here. But that's not enough. Bitcoin must manage to get above into the cloud and also manage to rescue itself out from the thick level of turbulence right here, okay? That's actually at the 6,550 level there. Bitcoin must manage to get back above these 6,390, but more importantly, it must manage to get back above this thick level of turbulence right here at 6,550. If it can rescue itself and get back above 6,550, there's a good chance actually this new wave could actually move higher. And we might see more rally and more strength coming into Bitcoin. But look, the way things are right now, given the fact that we're below the cloud, it doesn't look good for Bitcoin. It certainly looks kind of bearish, but it's not the end of the world, provided Bitcoin can get back above the thick level of turbulence that I just mentioned previously.
Thank you for watching. If you would like to see how we are stacking Bitcoin even in a bear market, generating crypto commissions, and using signals, seize the day. Click on the link in the description area below.